Hello guys, welcome to my channel Poetry of the Cosmos. My name is Amali and today's topic is gonna be how to protect your light from people. Okay, so this comes from the past. In my own experience, I've seen a lot that when somebody thinks that you're innocent or too sweet or naive, they kind of start to perceive you as helpless and they start trying to protect you, and then they start being like, you don't be so innocent, you need to change yourself, you need to come out of that bubble and look at the world and become more aware of things. While part of it is like good for you and maybe not everyone's intention is bad, but people who usually are full of light like that, they come across like that. They come across as happy-go-lucky, innocent, bubbly, always full of life and enjoying moments as if it's the last moment they're gonna breathe, and I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. A lot of times people, I don't know where it comes from exactly, it's like people who are more worldly, I guess, they start to feel a lot of this protective energy towards people like that. And while it's good in a way, but if that bubble really breaks and that person whose actual personality is to face life in a certain way changes or kind of breaks apart, then they sort of lose a sense of identity, which is also not really good in the long term. Because you see, there are two kinds of people in the world. The one kind of person will say the glass is half empty, and the other kind of person will say the glass is half full. And which one do you think falls in the category of glass half full out of the people, right? It's the kind of a person who will come across as innocent, happy-go-lucky, right? So it's not that you need to change that aspect of yourself. You need to protect it. You need to find tools that help you behave or act in the world or be in the world that actually allows you to stay in that bubble, but also allows you to engage with the world in a way that actually makes you feel more comfortable with yourself. So having been one of those people myself, and having gone through that journey myself, wherein people actually told me that I'm too innocent and stuff, and then eventually I did have experiences where I went through betrayal, I went through trust issues, and I went through a lot of experiences which actually changed my perspective towards the world, right? But it wasn't always great, because I was always used to looking at the world with bright eyes and like hope and in my own dreamy way. And then it was like a rude wake-up call, but honestly I didn't need it because I was perfectly fine before, and I honestly felt like that was like the better way of looking at my world than to constantly expect the worst from people. So what I have been doing from the last 2 years is a lot of deep shadow work, inner child healing, mirror work, etc. And I do a lot of that through books. For those of you who know me, I love reading, I love writing, and I have a lot of books that I've read, and I wanted to share a little bit of that for people, especially who are like that, who are full of light, full of still having innocent thoughts and like hopeful dreams. And I need to tell you that don't let that go ever, okay? That side of you is actually the side of you that gets you to going in life, that makes you want to wake up in the morning and face the day. So I have a list of books here that I want to read a little bit out of it and explain things. If you like reading, then definitely check these books out. And if you don't like reading, I would still say that try, because these are the tools that will actually get you by in life, and without the need to change yourself, because who you are is fine. It's just that there are specific skill sets that you need to add. Alright, so the first book is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Honestly, those of you who don't know this, he is amazing. His meditations actually helped me a lot. there's a lot of different kinds of meditations that he provides. One of them is the walking meditation. I did a lot of that during the pandemic. I used to go in on the top part of my building and the terrace, and I used to just take walks over there, and I used to visualize my future self and my future life, and that is called walking meditation, and that actually helps a lot because that is what got me here. And so basically, breaking the habit of being yourself is the step one, is to kind of identify who you become through your journey. Who are you? Like, have you become this person who is always looking at the world in a negative light, or are you the kind of person who gives people chances until you're proven wrong? So I will read out this thing to you. So in this book he writes, emotions to moods to temperaments to personality traits. That's how it happens. That's how the changes occur in us. Conditioning the body to live in the past. Okay, so unfortunately for most of us, because the brain always works by repetition and association, it doesn't take a major trauma to produce the effect of the body becoming the mind. The most minor triggers can produce emotional responses that feel as though they are beyond our control. A mood is a chemical state of being, generally short-term, that is an expression of a prolonged emotional reaction. Something in your environment, in this case, the failure of a barista to meet your needs, followed by a few minor annoyances, sets off an emotional response. At this point, you're not just a mood, you're reflecting a temperament, a tendency towards the habitual expression of emotion through a certain behavior. And that point, sometimes people will start describing you as bitter or resentful or angry or judgmental. That becomes a personality, right? Then these traits are based on our emotion, and most of the times the personality, how we think, act and feel, is anchored in the past. So to change our personality, we have to change the emotions that we memorize. We have to move out of the past. Oftentimes, we are addicted to being a somebody, to think greater than how we feel, or to think outside of the proverbial box becomes just too uncomfortable. The moment we begin to deny ourselves the substance we are addicted to, in this case, the familiar thoughts and feelings associated with our emotional addiction, these are cravings, withdrawal pains, and a host of inner sub-vocalizations urging us not to change. And so we remain chained to our familiar reality. In this way, his book actually makes us aware and the science behind what happens, how mood develops, how a temperament develops, and how a personality eventually develops. And this personality gives rise to physical ailments and illnesses that are connected to our state of being, and then the author also goes on to explain how to heal that. So I definitely urge you to check this out. Once you become aware of who you are, and if you want to break the habit of who you've become and who you've been, and if it's something negative, there's anything there that you want to change, this is the book that you definitely want to read. Next book I want you to read is Set Boundaries and Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawab. I'm really sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. This book is a guide to reclaiming yourself. Alright? So, the author writes, my definition of boundaries are expectations and needs that help you feel safe and comfortable in your relationships. Expectations in relationships help you stay mentally and emotionally well. Learning when to say no and when to say yes is also an essential part of feeling comfortable when interacting with others. What can happen when we avoid setting boundaries? First of all, burnout. Burnout is overwhelming and boundaries are the cure. Burnout happens when people become emotionally, mentally, or physically exhausted. In many cases, it leads to chronic frustration, neglect in duties, moodiness, and avoidance. Burnout is caused by not knowing when to say no, not knowing how to say no, prioritizing others over yourself, people pleasing, superhero syndrome, the I can do it all syndrome, unrealistic expectations, and not being appreciated for what you do. These are just basics of what boundary setting is all about, but the book goes on to cover a lot of depth and knowledge about how to deal with boundary setting. And I really think that boundary setting is a very important skill for people who think that they're being nice, but they're actually not being authentic to who they are. And you're allowed to say no, you're allowed to set boundaries, and it's just about learning the right way to communicate that and in a respectful manner. So I do urge, definitely read the book called Set Boundaries and Find Peace. It'll definitely find you peace, that is. The next book on the list is called the Assertiveness Workbook. This book will help you in understanding how to express your ideas and stand up for yourself at work and relationships. In this book, you actually have all this details about what assertiveness means. So this book goes on to talk about assertiveness. Assertiveness is a style of communication that can be used in all of these situations of life, but it is only one of the 4 styles of communication. The other 3 styles are passive style, the aggressive style, and the passive aggressive style. Okay, so a lot of times, for example, you feel stressed in like daily situations and stuff, and the book goes on to tell you what you can do to stop that. So I'm just going to read out the pointers. For example, when you feel stressed about a situation, insert a gap. If you're already tense, it will take some time for you to regain some perspective. So getting away from the triggering situation will actually help you regain the upper hand over the stress response, not the other person, but over your stress response. You need to burn it off, that energy that you have. The stress response prepares you to engage in vigorous physical activity. If you just sit there, the physical symptoms and the behavioral tendencies accompanying them will take time to pass. So do something. Don't just sit there, because it will keep accumulating and getting worse. Breathe. When you become tense, we tend to breathe more shallowly and rapidly. Our chest muscles work more and our diaphragm works less. Some people find that they hold their breath when they are stressed. These changes in breathing can bring on many of the physical symptoms of stress, like lightheadedness, tingling sensations in the hand and feet, dizziness, and a feeling of constriction in the chest. Basically, I think what this is describing is anxiety. Consequently, it is a good idea to use stress, anxiety, or anger as a cue to engage in deliberate, slow, diaphragmatic breathing. So yeah, it says don't wait until you feel anxious to try it out though. Keep practicing it so that it becomes a useful tool when you're ready, when you're stressed. Because honestly, when you're stressed and you're trying to try some new tool, your brain will tell you that it's not in the mood, or that's not the right thing to do because it's unfamiliar, right? Because your brain is more familiar with negative sensations at that point of time, and it feels more comforted by that. But no, you need to face it, you need to challenge yourself, because if you want to grow and make yourself feel better and face things better, then this book is for you, and you need to practice those things. So yeah, I definitely think that you should read this book as well. So the next book on the list is Codependent No More. Alright, so this book is by Melody Beatty, and I'm again very sorry to the author if I do not pronounce the name correctly. This book explains what is codependence, right? In an article from the book Codependency, an Emerging Issue, Robert Sabir writes that codependency is an emotional, psychological, and behavioral condition that develops as a result of an individual's prolonged exposure and practice of a set of oppressive rules which prevent the open expression of feeling as well as direct discussion of personal and interpersonal problems. One woman said codependency means I'm a caretaker. Another responded, being codependent means I'm married to an alcoholic. It also means I need to go to an AI and all. Codependency, replied another, means I'm up to my elbows in alcoholics. Now all this is just an expression of how they feel tied to their role as a caretaker towards whoever in their life is the alcoholic, right? They feel like it is their responsibility to take care of that situation. So that inherently, the need to take care of another person's life entirely, unless it's a child or somebody who is actually health-wise dependent on you, that itself defines what codependency is. And we need to understand that codependency is not something that is actually healthy and helpful in the long term, because it also leads to a burnout. And it's such an indirect problem that everybody is facing at the moment that it honestly slips our mind, you know. And it may not be that a person is entirely codependent, maybe in only one or two areas. But basically, a codependent person is one who has let another person's behavior affect them, and who is obsessed with controlling that other person's behavior. So if you feel like this resonates on any level, you have that savior mindset that you need to save somebody from themselves, and you get anxious if you don't do that, maybe then this book is for you, because so much of your life will open up. So much of your energy will open up just by removing yourself from that situation, removing yourself from that role, because then you can give to yourself, pour the water inside your own garden, right? Water your own garden instead of watering someone who is not interested in helping themselves. Check this out. I really think you would benefit from this. Alright, the next book I want to talk about is Judgement, Detox by Gabriel Bernstein. Need I say more? Need I say more? Okay, I do need to say more because I am talking right now. The reason I am even recommending this book right now with all the other books that I mentioned is because the books that I have mentioned before, and I realized this, they're very heavy in terms of deep introspection, and it's all about healing, but it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. And in that journey of facing yourself, you know, a lot of stuff is going to come up for you. But I really want you to hang in there and be strong, because it can be very easy to slip into the black hole, a rabbit hole of just, you know, self-pity. That I'm like this only, or I have been like this, or the victim mentality. But I don't want you to go there. I don't want you to judge yourself, and hence Judgement, Detox. Okay, so she talks about witnessing your judgment without judgment. She talks about honoring the wound, and then she talks about putting love on an altar. Then she talks about seeing for the first time. The next step is basically cutting the cords with that version of yourself, or the person that is actually holding you back. After that, she talks about bringing your shadows to light. All of these things that she's talking about, and I want to go in depth about this another time when I'm just focusing on this book more, because there's a lot. I just want you to know that these steps, like basically witnessing your judgment without judgment, honoring that judgment wound, putting love on an altar, what that means is just making sure that you respect and love and are devoted to healing that wound. And that is my interpretation of what it means. It's basically prioritizing it, and then you see for the first time everything that actually wasn't working out, and then you cut off the cords, you bring your shadow self to the light, and you heal it, you integrate it into your life, you know, because there is a world beyond judgment. It's not going to be 100% all of the time that you will be judgment free, but at least you will be aware whenever you have those negative nagging thoughts in your head about judging yourself, judging others. You will know that that is not you. That is just a thought process, a loop that has been activated for some reason in the past, and you're now trying to heal it. So don't listen to that. That's not the real you. That's not who you are, and that's not the truth. So yeah, this is the book for you. If you're the person in your head that keeps nagging you all the time, you need to remove that out of your system. All right, so last but definitely not the least is The Gifts of Imperfections by Brené Brown. Because we live in an imperfect world, and we are all imperfect in our own way. We are not trying to change that. We are trying to honor it by making space for those imperfections to come to light and understand, heal them, and protect yourself. You're trying not to judge them. So I'm not going to judge myself, because we all make mistakes sometimes. Okay, coming back. Basically, what this book says, and this is what I marked in this book, what I really liked. One of the things that I really liked, she says, so many of us knowingly created, unknowingly allowed, being handed down a long list of worthiness prerequisites. We all do this, right? I'll be worthy when my parents finally approve. I'll be worthy when he calls me back and asks me out. I'll be worthy when I can do it all and look like I'm not even trying. Here's what is truly at the heart of wholeheartedness. Worthy now, not if, not when. We are worthy of love and belonging now, right this minute, as is. Those are her words, not mine, but they're so perfect. Perfectly imperfect, I mean. They're so perfect. I love it. What she says is we are worthy right now. Not because of anything, not if something happens, not when it happens. We are worthy of love and belonging right now, as we are, who we are, right this minute, as is. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is, she talks about this, and I really think this is very important for people who are naturally, like that means like full of energy and want to express themselves and always see the positive things in life. And they may not be the people who have a backup plan every time something goes wrong, but at least they have the energy and a positive attitude to face things when things go wrong. So they are not always imagining the worst case scenario. They're imagining the best case scenario, and then if they fail, then they have the energy to face it. So, and people tell you, be prepared all the time. Maybe you don't need to always be that prepared, because life can still surprise you or shock you, and you won't be prepared for it every time. When we numb the dark, we numb the light. That's what she says. In another very unexpected discovery, my research also taught me that there's no such thing as selective emotional numbing. There is a full spectrum of human emotions, and when we numb the dark, we numb the light. While I was taking the edge off the pain and vulnerability, I was also unintentionally dulling my experience of good feelings like joy. Looking back, I can't imagine any research finding that has changed what my daily life looks like more than this. Now I can lean into joy, even when it makes me feel tender and vulnerable. In fact, I expect tender and vulnerable. Joy is as thorny and sharp as any of the dark emotions. To love someone fiercely, to believe in something with your whole heart, to celebrate a fleeting moment in time, to fully engage in life that doesn't come with guarantees. These are the risks that involve vulnerability and often pain. When we lose our tolerance for discomfort, we lose joy. In fact, addiction research shows that an intensely positive experience is as likely to cause relapse as an intensely painful experience. We can't make a list of all the bad emotions and say, I'm going to numb these, and then make a list of positive emotions and say, I'm going to fully engage in these. You can imagine the vicious cycle this creates. I don't experience much joy, So I have no reservoir to draw from when hard things happen. They feel even more painful. So I numb. I numb so I don't experience joy, and so on. So basically what she says, you cannot choose one emotion or the other. You're a human being. You're a full spectrum of emotions all of the times. You have the bandwidth to express and feel all of the time. You cannot shut off one and just feel the other. You're going to numb it all out if you try to numb one of those. So it's not about shutting out all the bad emotions. It's about feeling them and being able to deal with them in a controlled way with all of the tools, that we discussed. And honestly, having a balanced life is way better than feeling like you have to, be scared of any negative emotions or thoughts. I think the trick is just to understand your negative emotions and thoughts and see that they are actually the bad guys, because they cannot control your life. And you need to fix not yourself. I need to be very careful what I say. You don't need to fix yourself, but you do need to fix the way you deal with these situations. You do need to fix the way that you deal with emotions, because they are the wild horses running havoc sometimes, right? So on an ending note, what I want to say is that don't dim your light just because you're afraid of the dark. I don't know if that even makes sense. What I mean is, don't numb yourself because you want to protect yourself. Don't get scared of being happy. Don't get scared of being in the spotlight or being in the light or feeling good just because the next bad thing is gonna come, because that's just life. Good things come, they go away, then the bad things come, they go away, and then the good things come, and then they go away, and then the bad things come and they go away, and then the cycle continues. That's just life. Some of us will face really good times and really bad times, and then some of us will face okay times and okay bad times. It's just about a degree of feeling and a perception and situation, and everybody's is different, and we're not going to go into karma, and we're not going to go into soul and all of that in this video. But what I would like to tell you is that you cannot, it's the same like tap, you cannot, it's the same tap that flows, the emotions flow from. Whether it's negative or positive is just about our perception. And if you want to stop the negative emotions, you're going to close the tap, but then you're also going to close the tap for the positive emotions to flow. So don't do that. If that doesn't work out, if somebody disappoints you, then you need to learn how to let go, forgive, and then really move on, because it's good, it's better for your mental health and for all the things that you want to achieve in your life in the future. So do your best. Don't always be worried about what's going to happen. Imagine the best case scenario, not just because you're gaslighting yourself or just imagining or doing the woo-woo, like what people talk about sometimes with law of attraction. I don't know why, because everyone nowadays is talking about the law of attraction. It's real. It's as real as gravity. But I want you to do this, because when you do imagine the best case scenario, you're probably going to be closer to that, and you're going to quantum jump into that reality rather than be stuck in an old version of yourself, which is actually not healthy. Imagining the worst case scenario is a very survival type energy, and we are not here to just survive. I mean, I am not talking about people who are stuck in difficult places like in a war zone, but this video is for people who are going through a lot of emotional stress and have been told all their life to break out of the bubble, come out of the bubble, No, keep the bubble and learn these tools. Face the world, but keep your world intact. Keep your light, people. All right. Thank you. This is Himali, over and out. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.